Forget about the weaknesses, let them be weak, and make the thing that you're better at doing even better. People don't buy from people. People buy from people that they like. Being extraordinary is accessible to everybody. The act of doing that, come sun or rain, over and over again, consistently, and the act of doing that is what's extraordinary. I sat down on the side of the road and I got my phone out to get an Uber to get home. I thought, I can't breathe, my shins are aching, but I go to the gym and I'm in shape, and I'm like, why? I'd fried my nervous system. My body has been stuck in fight or flight mode.
It took me 24 months of hard yards. So I head down, bum up in my business. My business grew by 250%. And then with my health, I lost 22 kilos. And now I've even comments have been made, and Trace, it's easy for you. And I'm like, not a chance. So for all the business owners listening, what is one thing that they need to be aware of when it comes to their sales? What would your one piece of advice be?
I do think you need to...
This is Real Biz, Real Life. The Real Biz Life Chronicles. Hosted by Tracy Fryer.
What if the most brilliant business owners have been hiding in the shadows, and it's time to bring them into the light? Welcome to the Real Biz Life Chronicles. I'm your host, Tracy Fryer, and this is your grinding zone, where I sit down with real business owners just like you. We share the wins, the wreckage, and everything in between. Raw, honest, unscripted. Get ready to banish boring. Let's go. Before we dive into the episode, I need to ask a favor. If you are enjoying the show, if anything has resonated, or even if you've attempted to say yeah, like I often do, we ask that you please like and subscribe to our channels. You're not just supporting the show, but you're helping us build an incredible community of business owners who get it, who get each other, and who keep going no matter what. Share it with someone in your world today so they know they're not alone. Thank you. My guest today and I used to sit a few seats apart alphabetically at Farrarmere Primary School in Johannesburg, South Africa. Then life happened. He went to the UK and I landed up in Perth. Decades passed, and when we finally reconnected, I was blown away by who he had become. A former professional athlete, over 20 years building sales teams and driving revenue in some of the world's most demanding organizations. Until one day, he looked around and realized that being a number in someone else's business was never going to be enough. So he left. He founded Sales Geek Manchester. He runs ultramarathons, the 13 Valleys, the London Marathon, the Hybrid Games, Born Survivor, and is currently training for the Lakeland 50. Not for the medal, but because he needs to know what he's made of. But none of that is what defines him. What defines my guest is this. In team races, he's slowed down his own pace to carry others across the line, sacrificed his qualifying position, and gone home with the result without the result he trained for, and never said a word about it. That is who he is. Driven, supportive, honest. The definition of the leader eats last. Please welcome David Mercado, founder of Sales Geek Manchester.
Wow, thanks, Tracy. That's amazing. That's really kind of you to say. I appreciate it.
Of course. Look at us all growing up and we're on a podcast. It's so good to have you here.
Those teachers that said we would never amount to anything. I hope they're watching.
I hope so. Well, firstly, thank you so much for reconnecting. It's like a blast from the past. And I know we had a chat before the show, maybe like a couple of months ago.
Yeah, it was so good to reconnect as well. It is funny how you instantly recognize somebody, don't you? I feel like you look exactly the same, even though it's how many years ago is that? That's I don't know, 30 years ago, 30 years ago.
Right. Don't give away my age. Oh my word. I can't believe it. I feel like the last 20 years has just evaporated. So I've still got the same afro hair, but never mind.
And I've still got hair.
Yeah, well, that's good. Touch wood for both of us. Now, I don't know about you, but I find the best conversations are always had over a great cup of coffee. And so the coffee for each episode of the Real Biz Life Chronicles is sponsored by no other than the legends at Cuppa Cartel. They're fueling great conversations, one cuppa at a time. They offer a full corporate cuppa experience and personalized valet service for you and your crew at the office. For more information, head to the link in the show notes below. So, Farrarmere Primary School, what do you remember about that kid, David Mercado, and what would he recognize who you are today?
Oh, wow, what a question that is. Do you know, I really didn't like I didn't like junior school. Didn't
Mm.
like I don't think I liked school at all. And it's so funny now because, I've got a young son. That would kind of be me. Leo's 11 years old.
Oh, yeah.
So, that would kind of be me then. And the education system in schools have changed massively. Leo loves school. I hated school. Any chance to escape, I feel like, I escaped and doing any excuse not to go. But he likes school. I think school is
Yeah.
wildly different as well. And I also think, being lucky enough to have, explored the world, you know, growing up in South Africa gave you something really different. I feel
Yes.
like we're like quite privileged, like we both live in opposite, you know, corners of the world. But I think like that it gave us like such a good foundation, didn't it? It was like
Yeah.
really old school compared to like kind of the rest of the world. So I guess I remember the old school ways, the old school values. I think like the social element of it as well, like really sets you up.
Hmm.
Whereas I think maybe that's kind of, lacks in different parts of the world. Um, but I've mostly good memories from that. Memories of being outside, memories of
Yeah,
having no shoes on, memories of running around, um, that kind of stuff. And isn't it funny how you still remember like it's
crazy,
funny how
huh?
the human brain works and you link things. Well, I don't know about everybody else, but I link things to like images in my
Same.
head. I can like see an image and then I can replay that image and I can like recreate the story of the time back then. So, like you sort of described sitting apart alphabetically. I'm not even sure they do that anymore, but like I can remember that.
Yeah, because
I
I was
can,
C and you were M, obviously. So yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And do you remember like there was always an ice cream boy outside the gate. Like you could buy ice cream. I know one day I went home with a puppy. There was always people selling stuff outside the school gate.
You know what I remember for the longest time? Do you know, like, and I guess every culture and country is different. So, like in South Africa, of course, we call a piece of like maize meal, like a
Oh
corn, we
yeah.
call it a millie.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
always remember them coming down the road, whistling,
Oh, it's like the
screaming,
Millie
"Millies,
guys. Yeah.
millies!" Like selling millies. Like that. That was like the funniest thing for me because for a while, my nickname was Millies because I
Oh,
got lost in a field, like the maize field. I got lost
yeah.
like in the maize field,
Right.
and then they're like, when
It's like a
you're
horror
a short
film.
kid, I'm still short. I'm still that short now, but like when those things are like 3 meters high, and they're like, 2 miles by 2 miles. I was lost
Yeah.
in there for ages, and then
Oh
when
my
I
word.
finally got found, when I finally found my way back, that was my nickname for ages. So
How
I always remember that
did
they'd shouted down there. I don't know. I was only probably about 10 years old or something like that.
Oh my word. It sounds like a horror movie. You know, someone always gets lost in the cornfield. Lucky you made it
I
out.
know. I know. Yeah.
Dave, you competed at professional level in sport. Most people who get that far become defined by it. Did it define you or did it free you?
So I think it may. I would say it defined me. I think. I think a lot of what I want now, or what I try and see in the younger generation, I think a lot of that is kind of lost. The world's changed a lot. We've got access to a lot more things. I think things are a lot easier. I think sport is an incredible thing. I think it teaches you so many different really good life skills,
Absolutely.
things that things that helped really define me, who I am, and as a person. It wasn't, it was quite disciplined. There was times we absolutely didn't want to do it, but you had to learn that discipline. You had to learn that it wasn't just about you; it was about your teammates. And if you didn't turn up to practice, you weren't just letting yourself down; you were letting your teammates down. So
Mm.
you turned up even when you didn't feel like turning up, because if you didn't turn up, they couldn't field the side, or they couldn't play a game, or there was something that they couldn't do. So you learned that responsibility from a young age as a kid. You learned to be consistent over
Yeah.
time. You learned like delayed gratification. You come every week, you do your practice. The team's perhaps not winning in the first year or the second year, but you gel together. You learn how to work together as a team, and then it pays off. You kind of climb the ranks. So you can draw so many of those things from being there. And at the time, as a kid, you think, why is my mom forcing me to go to
Yeah.
practice? I don't want to go to practice. I hate this. I'm never playing again. But
Yeah.
you go and you go and you go and you go and you think now, like when you grow up and you become an adult and you think,
Mm.
wow, what amazing life lessons they were. The resilience, the grit, the times you felt so exhausted and you didn't want to do
Yeah.
it, and you'd been out in the sun all day and you were baked and you were hungry and you were tired, you just wanted to go home, but you had to go again. Like that resilience, that grit, you can then take that through with you in life and apply it to so many other things. So I think it is a defining thing. The highs, the lows, the teamwork, the failures. I think you can learn so much from it, and I think it's a real shame how the world at this time and the generation that we sort of bring it up now. I think things are kind of like, at least I feel like it's too easy. And I don't want to be like that dissonant granddad that we all have, because dissonance is like a real thing.
Yeah.
We get new things in the world. And
Yeah.
I've like, seen the generations be dissonant to new technologies, for example, like social media. Like your nana and granddad aren't going on TikTok, are they? They don't even know what it is because
Oh, my
they're
granny
like, wait,
is, she's 91.
well,
She's one on the
well,
board.
you've
She's
got a
very rare
non-dissonant.
though.
Well, yeah, but like for my granddad won't even use a mobile phone.
Oh, really?
He's like, that thing over there is ringing. Can somebody
Oh,
deal with it? Like because he's
what is
dissonant. Like
it?
we didn't have that when we were growing up. We're not going to use that.
Oh,
So they're like they kind of So I don't want to. I'm trying to lean in and not
yeah.
kind of like have that dissonance, but I do think that we're losing some of like the good old school disciplines that
Yeah.
have defined me and who I am and the way I think and what I kind of value. I think with sports now it defined me. I think I'm just want to, as much as I can influence that younger generation and people around me, I don't want to kind of lose those defining elements. I know that's a really, really long-winded answer, but I
No,
think it
no,
I
but
think
it
it's
makes
quite a
sense.
defining I think it's quite a defining thing because and even now I recognize in myself when I excel the most. So if I do something solely on my own, so if I have like a position, a gig, a job or something like that, and it's just me,
Yeah.
I don't put in half as much effort as if I was in a team with someone else. And I even notice this like in the gym. If I
Yeah.
go to the gym class and it's like a team effort day and the
Mm.
class is part of a team, I work so much harder
Yeah.
being part of that team as if you were doing solo exercises. I would much rather enter a team event
Mm.
and because that's in my blood. I've always been
Yeah.
in a team. So I know if somebody wants to get the best out of me, I need to run for a charity because I want to be part of the team. I need to be, if we're doing an event, I want to do the doubles. I don't
Yeah.
want to do the singles because I know I'll get so much more out of myself. So I'm lucky that I can recognize that.
Yeah. And for our listeners, please tell us about your incredible career that you've had as a sportsman.
So I'm really lucky because I've played kind of everything. I guess I was that maybe naive, but luckily naturally gifted kid. I had good hand-eye coordination, so kind of anything with a bat and a ball, I seem to be quite good at. I was always in the athletics team. I was always like the little sprinter. I'd
At
always like
Farrarmere
kind
as
of just
well?
maybe, yeah, like I was always in the athletics team. Back then I was even doing high jump, believe it or not, until I
Oh,
stopped
cool.
growing.
Oh, I was in the art
So
class. Okay, I wasn't sporty back then.
yeah, like I would think I was just, the jack of all trades, master of none. I'm a
Right.
little bit good at everything, but I'm not like a
Okay.
complete master of one thing. So I was really good all rounder, which is good because I had access to like experience lots and lots of different things.
Yeah.
But growing up over the years, I was involved with everything. And then baseball was the one that I kind of seemed to stick to. It was the one that I was a little bit better at than the kind of rest of the sports.
Yeah.
And I'd sort of played that ever since I was like 4 or 5 years old. So I understood the game really well. I
Mm.
understood like the strategies and things, not just swinging the bat and hitting the ball and catching and throwing. Understood what it took the team together to like, when I sort of kind of got to that point is when I started getting really good at it. And
Right.
I was really lucky to have a failed sports career, if you like, 15, 16. and traveled overseas, first kid in the family, like to leave the
Yeah.
country and, kind of had that opportunity. And, we grew up like super humble, like no one had this opportunity, my becoming a parent later in life and seeing the struggles now as an adult that you took for granted when you were, when you had those young eyes of
Yeah.
how my mom must have really had to dig deep at times to like, get her two boys to survive. You appreciate with that when you get a lot older,
Hmm.
and she was doing like cake bakes and car boot sales and stuff to like pay for uniforms and,
Yeah.
you know, as well as working, like full time. And that's could be like a really difficult thing as a parent. And everybody wants, hopefully everybody wants the best for their children. So we went through all of that, and I had some opportunities to travel, have some amazing experiences. And I suppose the first big thing was in baseball terms was something called the World Series, which most people will recognize, and they've different versions of it, Little League, Big League, and then you've obviously got like the Major League World Series. And I was, I think, 15 or 16, played in the Big League World Series and started getting recognized on an international stage and had
Yeah.
the opportunity to go to America, play in some of these tournaments. And, there was like a sniff of a scholarship and all of this stuff. And there was there was an opportunity to, play professionally. And I went through the programs and went, all the way down to the line kind of last minute. And you're not of age until you're 21 in America. So I think I was 18, 19 by this point,
Hmm.
was on track to like, I'm going to be a professional athlete. This is what I thought. I'm going to be a professional athlete. Had all sorts of things lined up, and then got injured. So they had like a fabulous career, all African championships, won every possible trophy that there was to win.
Yeah.
Been involved in everything at a high level. Had a loads of trophy cabinets full of trophies and medals and proof of what the sports person I was becoming. And
Yeah.
then injury takes over, and then all of a sudden that dream is just gone,
So how long
and
did you
you're just
play
like
for?
at that higher level for kind of from like 15 years old to 19 years old.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm
um
curious, you said it was failed. Why did you say that? Because you got injured?
yeah, I got injured, and then I just kind of fell off that trajectory path, if you like,
Mm.
of really making it and really becoming like a proper professional full-time athlete. Just kind of fell off that trajectory path, and all of a sudden it was like, well, go home with your tail between your legs. What do you do now?
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Did you go back to exam?
19, had not gone to university. Thought, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
Move back in at home? Like, is that my option?
Mm.
Like, go and find somebody who's going to like give me a job, what's going to be, what am I going to do? So like, of course, for me that wasn't like an option, and I just at that point it was go see what there is on the other side of the world. So we've all got a little bit of luck in life, I suppose. If you look, so lucky thing for me was I had dual nationality. So my
Right.
mom's side of the family were British, so
Oh,
I had a British passport. So this made traveling to England really easy for me.
yes.
Trust me, as a South African, you don't want to move to England.
I've
It rains all the
heard.
time. It's cold. It's dark. Like you've grown up in the sun. You don't want to be here. You want to do what you've done. You've just moved to the same climate. That's
Yes,
great.
Perth.
So
Yeah, it's so good. A lot like SA.
so I was not it took a lot to get here. I got here on like a shoestring kind of thing.
Yeah.
Pretty much felt like I'd sold up everything my whole life. I remember having like little table on the block outside the block of flats where we lived, and
Yeah.
I'd be selling like my box TV. Like we had a black and white box TV back in the
Right.
day. That was my TV in my room, like selling that for like next to nothing,
Yeah.
selling. Do you remember, for anyone listening, can you remember a Blockbuster, which is basically where you used to go and rent a VHS
Jeez, I
tape
remember.
long before you had
Yeah,
Netflix? Like, so you'd save up your pocket money,
I
you go and
remember.
rent like the VHS tape. You'd like come home and like put the VHS in the thing with the tape,
Yeah.
and it would like never be clear. You'd have to like clean it with like an alcohol wipe and everything.
When
But
it got caught. Oh,
we had a Blockbuster where
nightmare.
we lived. But so I had like go into the Blockbuster where it was like the end of a new release movie, and I'd
Right.
ask them if I could have the posters that was in the windows. My bedroom was full of like, T-Rex, this
Oh,
amazing poster with like, so like I was selling those out of my bedroom on the side of the road for like,
oh,
just to
right.
collect money. Sold everything.
Well, very
Uh,
general, I
funny
say.
thing, funny things that you remember, right? But I
Absolutely.
like pretty much made it to England with like a backpack of clothes, and I probably had like best part of £200 like to my name, and it was literally like, right, you need to earn a living
Yeah.
or not.
Yeah.
And I got a job selling gas and electric. And as you know, Tracy, growing up in South Africa, we don't have gas. Gas to us comes in a canister, right?
It's
That
very
you fill up at
foreign.
the garage
Yes.
at the side of the road, right? There's no gas when you turn the hob on your
No,
stove,
it's
right?
none.
So,
Yeah.
so I was
Get a
knocking
gas
on doors.
barbecue. It's like you get so much grief because you've got a gas barb at gas bra. So anyway, I know exactly what you mean.
There's no like mains gas. There's
No,
no mains
none at
gas.
all.
It's
No,
not a utility that you get a bill like
no.
electricity,
Yeah.
right? There's no
Very
like
foreign.
supplier.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know what this was, but I had this job. They must have liked what I said. Um, and you got given a script to learn, like this is what you knock on the door and this is what you say. And it
Right.
was horrible because you got dropped off, and this is in Scotland, right? So my accent now still might sound South African to a lot,
A little
but
bit.
back in the
Wow.
day, it was a really deep, broad South African accent with
Yeah.
all the slang, with all the colloquialisms. And I went to Edinburgh,
Wow.
which has got all the slang, all the colloquialisms of the deep Scottish accent.
Yeah.
So you have this little South African boy knocking on, the row of terraced houses in the rain,
Wow.
trying to two people who couldn't communicate because you couldn't understand each other. What? Sorry, say it again. What?
No.
Sorry, say it again. And I'm trying to sell them gas. Don't even know what it is.
Yeah. Very rude.
So, it was a rude awakening for me, the amount of doors that I had like slammed in my face. And it's a funny thing. Like if anybody's ever done cold calling, if everybody's done door knocking, or if anybody's ever done like that for one of those first jobs that you likely get, selling insurance in a train station and you're there with your clipboard,
Yes.
or somebody's coming out the supermarket and you're trying to like tell them about a new energy provider.
Yeah.
Those jobs, it creates this like big anxiety in you because subconsciously, I think it's ingrained in us as kids in your formative years to not talk to strangers. Your parents are like,
Yeah.
do not talk to strangers.
Especially in South Africa.
So, yeah, exactly. So you're stood there now feeling these anxious feelings, not knowing why you're feeling them. And it's because you shouldn't be talking to strangers, but your job is to
You have
talk
to
to strangers,
really
right?
living. Yeah.
So, it's mad. So it's like trying to get, really quick learning phase where you're getting all these doors slammed in your face
Hmm.
and politely getting told to fuck off,
Yeah.
basically.
That's think
Next door, next door, next door.
before you share much more, I just want to stop for a sec. Like when you had you had that expectation that your sporting career was going to work out one way. I guess what were you going through? Because I know a lot of business owners, we have a service or product that we think is going to go one way, then sometimes it fails numerous times. I'd love for you to share what were you kind of going through in that time, and what was the time, from when you realized you had to. Did you go back to South Africa?
I went back to South Africa, yeah, briefly,
Ah, and then straight
for
to
like a
the
short
UK?
period, and then came. Yeah, it wasn't like I went back and got a job or anything. I went back
Got it.
basically to like,
Quite
right,
quickly.
I'm not staying here.
Yeah. So what were you
So
kind of going through in that moment because your heart was so set on your
mhm.
sporting career? And sorry to interrupt
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
But
no, no, of course. I
what
think
were
at the
some key
time,
there?
sorry, Tracy, say again.
Okay. What were some key things that you can maybe share with our listeners? Something that, how was it the fact that you took immediate action, you got on a plane back to South Africa, went to the UK? Did that help minimize those, negative feelings or?
So I think like today, the person I am today would answer that question very, very differently. So I'll
Okay.
try and give you context on both sides. I
Hmm.
think because I wouldn't advise that somebody does this, what
Okay.
I did.
Hmm.
But I just think I'm not like a sit still person. I'm an action person. I'm a doer person. I'm like a get shit done kind of
Yeah.
person. So I think it was just blind stubbornness that I wasn't willing to accept it. And if that wasn't going to work out, I was going to find something else to do. I didn't give myself time to sulk
Good.
or wallow in the despair. So it was just right, what am I going to do now? What's the next thing? And it's almost like, you can relate it to running those ultra marathons. You make all these excuses. I'm tired. I'm hungry. I might
Yeah.
injure myself. You like start having these conversations with yourself, and I'm just like so stubborn, going, I'm gonna finish this. Like, don't care what
Yeah.
happens. You have to drag me off. You're dead. Like, and I think it's that I at the time as a kid, before I learned what had some life experience up until now. It's like just blind stubbornness. I was just like not willing to accept that that's what that was going to be. So it
Yeah.
was just like a lot of like jumping into the deep end, a lot of like not really qualifying stuff, just and yeah, I might have made a huge mistake, but like
Yeah.
I'd rather go do something, try and fail and make that huge mistake than kind of having the not knowing. And of course, now today I'd be a lot more qualified about it. I'd ask a lot more questions. I'd have a lot more like, of a positive mindset because you're never starting something from scratch. Like as a business owner, you tried something, it didn't work.
Hmm.
Well, when you start again, you're not starting from scratch. You're starting from like at least some kind of level of experience because the thing that you tried before that didn't work, hopefully you will have learned something from that. And this time around, you're not going to make those mistakes. So you're starting from a different position, a position of experience. So you're always hopefully taking a step up, a step further, and then you can implement things in a positive way from the negative outcomes from before. So those negative outcomes aren't negative outcomes; they're actually quite positive outcomes because you've just found another way that didn't work.
Yeah. I like how you
Not,
phrase that.
it wasn't kind of like a failure, if you like. But I think in the beginning, I was lucky because I was just kind of getting the same outcome, but purely from like a blind, stubborn kid, just going, I don't know what's under that water in the deep end, but I need to jump in anyway. And
No.
if a
No.
shark eats me, well, it ate me. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
this time I might check if there's a shark in there first before I
Got
jump
it.
in. Do you
Right.
know, like, you know what I mean? Because I know there might be one.
Yes. Yes.
So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Thank you.
Hopefully that paints the picture.
It does. It does. So we were at the point where you'd moved to Scotland. You were going door to door.
Yeah, so I hated that. I absolutely hated that. But surprisingly, somehow I was good at it. So
Good.
people were inviting me in for cups of tea every now and again, and then kind of once I got in, got a cup of tea, and I think a lot of people that I was going to say fall into sales. Back in the day, you didn't ever choose sales. Nobody chose to get into sales. You did sales because there was nothing else to do, and you just kind of naturally fell into it. It was like the last resort.
Yeah.
People wanted to grow up, they wanted to study, and they wanted to, get a business degree, wanted to become a doctor, be a vet, be an
Got it.
architect. It was like, a formal level of education. No one went, I'm going to study sales and like do sales. You can now, and you can
Yeah.
come to businesses like my business, and we can teach you like some formal things to do that in your business, which is
Okay.
amazing. But like back in the day, it was like that was like the thing you did at the end because nobody wanted to do it. Nobody wanted to talk to strangers. It was a
Yeah.
horrible thing. Cold calling was awful. Back then, the way you engage in the sales process now is vastly different in the way a salesperson engaged in then. A salesperson was always like the keeper of knowledge. Nothing ever happened until you did a demo, until you
Yeah.
provided a sample.
Mm.
Well, now you've got social media, marketing's advanced massively. We've got AI now.
Yeah.
The person buying the thing that you're selling knows more about the thing that you're selling. So you're no longer like a technical salesperson. They don't need a sample. They don't need to ask you any questions about it. They know that
No. Yeah.
more about it than you do. So the art of selling now, you don't sell on. Business owners typically tended to be the best salesperson in their business because they were the experts of the product or the service because it was their business. They're not anymore the best sellers because or like similar with your business in marketing, the education is so much higher and so much more accessible now than it was 15, 20 years ago. So it was a very, very, very different thing back then. But I absolutely hated it because I felt like it was really unethical. You had like a little bit of a script that was meant to pull the wool over somebody's eyes, paint this picture to something that there was some truth to it, but it wasn't really that. And, it was very transactional. You were getting people to make a decision on the spot without any sort of careful or considered thought.
Mm.
And whether I knew it or not, it just didn't sit well in my gut, in
Yeah.
my psyche. And I knew I wasn't doing the right thing. But like at the end of the day, I remember I needed to sell three of those things a week
Yeah.
to live.
Yeah.
So
You needed to
I
survive.
made sure I sold three,
Yeah.
and I was doing incredibly well. I seemed to be quite good at it, but I hated it. You know, when you wake up in the morning and you think, I just really don't want to do this. So
Yes.
yeah, so it didn't last long. I left doing that. They said, please don't leave. You're our best
Uh,
salesperson. So I went down to the opposite end of the country to London, did it in London.
okay.
That was worse.
Oh, Western
I
Scotland.
found out, well, I found out some areas in England are a lot more friendly. Some
Yeah.
areas, busier, higher traffic driven business, people lose patience and time and they're not so friendly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That didn't last long either. And this is so funny. I always think of this. When I then wanted to leave again, they put me into the head office and they made me a head of training. So I got involved with writing the scripts. I got involved with people teaching rapport building long before I actually had any sort of formal knowledge about how to teach, how to
Right.
engage, how
Yeah.
to be a coach. I was kind of doing these things and I was just making it up, without any formal accreditations or anything behind the training. I was just writing my own training, and like that's back in the day before like we even had, you know, any form of like ChatGPT or anything to
Yeah.
help you.
Yeah.
There was no tools. It was like you
No.
wrote it on
All
an
hands
A4 piece of
literally.
paper and that's it. There's your script. There was like, I didn't even have like access to a laptop or anything. It was like you had
Yeah.
to write it out neatly like you were still in school.
Wow.
Like, and it's so funny because a lot of what I do these days is like sales enablement and sales training in a formal capacity. But scroll back to when I was 19, I was kind of doing it then,
Yeah.
like unknowingly
Yeah. Interesting.
preparing myself to do what I do now professionally,
Yeah.
which is so interesting. But that didn't last long either. And then I got an even worse job, I suppose, which was selling something even harder. And I don't know if anybody listening on this call, I know it's quite global, but if I mention the brand Kirby vacuum cleaner,
Yes. Yes. That's not the little red one. I think I asked you that last time.
no, that's a Henry. So Kirby
Sorry.
vacuum
Oh,
cleaner is
sorry.
like
My
this
bad.
big, like cast aluminium metal, huge, big brand. But would you pay? I suppose you have to do the conversion where you are in the world, but would you pay £2,500 for a Hoover or a vacuum,
Wow. That's
if you
a
like?
lot.
Would you?
I
Okay. Now,
might
would you
start
pay that
thinking a
today?
lot.
No. Would you pay that to someone knocking on your door in the street then and there 20 years ago?
Probably not. No, is that what it cost 20 years ago?
That's how hard it was. Yeah, that was
Oh,
the price 20 years ago. No
wow.
idea what it is like today.
Yeah.
But
Right.
you'd go out knocking on someone's door going, can I come in? Can I hoover a little bit of your house? Can I show you how dirty it is?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
when you buy this. So that was massively unethical. That was horrible. You tie people into
Oh,
like,
wow.
service agreements and like financial, trying to get them to like, sign a financial agreement so they could pay for it.
Yeah.
Um, but I used to get a little bit more commission for every one of those are sold.
Right. So how long did you do that for?
Well, I didn't stay on the road very long, but um, it was very like Americanized, and I don't mean that in like a bad way. I
Mm.
just mean like that it was incentivized a lot. So you would win medals and
Mm.
badges to like so you could
Yeah.
display them, so people
Goals.
knew that you like it was a hierarchy thing, and you'd also win like holidays and things. So I was really lucky because I was a really good sales person within there. I was a team
Yeah.
leader, and this little kid from South Africa, I got to go to New York on holiday, like all paid for, because it was, like, so I got some like really good stuff out of it
Yeah.
because, I have these opportunities that I perhaps wouldn't have had. So, those things it was an amazing time, but I hated it. I hated it. It was so horrible. I was walking to work in the rain every day on a train, knocking
Yeah.
on people's doors. I didn't want to do it. I did run their call center for a while because
Okay.
they would have appointment setters. So they'd have a, database of knowledge. People who've had one in the past that
Mm.
was getting a bit old and tired, they'd ring them up. They'd they'd send an engineer around, to do a service check while the engineer was there. He'd
Right.
part exit for a new one and sell them a new one. So it was a pitch, right?
Oh,
Really unethical, I know,
wow.
but you learn
No.
massively from these things. But I was like 20 years old at this point doing doing that,
Enough.
and
Yeah.
everybody's trying to earn a living, and it was a
Yeah.
good piece of kit like back in the day. It was good.
Yeah.
So, but that was when I had like a real opportunity to get into what I was getting into. So I was living in like a little house share, as you do,
Yes.
four blokes sharing a little terraced house, paying
Yeah.
for your bedroom,
Yeah.
sharing the kitchen and all that. And I was brought up the South African way, Tracy. It was like you make your bed in the morning,
Oh,
you
yeah.
make sure it's tidy, you don't go to bed and leave dishes in the sink.
Yeah. You clean up. I was
You
bit of a,
iron you iron your clothes, you brush your hair, you brush your teeth
yeah.
before you leave the house.
Yeah.
Like I was brought up in that way, and I just, I won't name names. I actually still speak to this guy,
Oh, that's good.
but he was my housemate, and he was just lazy.
Yeah. People are,
And he'd come home from work in his company car with his
yeah.
company phone and his company laptop, and he'd like not take his suit jacket off, and he'd just sit on the couch,
Hmm.
and he would just like eat with his hands straight out of the pot, whatever he'd made in the kitchen.
Oh,
Big mess
wow.
everywhere. I was thinking if my mom was here, she would be like, right, go clean your room.
Yeah.
And I was just like, why am I walking to the train station? You got this guy doing that. Anyway, you build rapport with these people, we
Okay.
chat. I got his boss's business card. It went on their website. They were in electrical manufacturing.
Okay.
I'd like called his boss up and I went, I've been on the website. I'm in sales. I think I can add value to your company. Do you have any vacancies? Will you meet me for a coffee?
Hmm.
Please can I have a conversation with you? And he met me for a coffee.
Oh,
There
good.
wasn't a sales job at the time,
Okay.
but there was a job as a merchandiser. So merchandiser was the guy who went into all the little wholesalers and put the new posters in the windows and
Hmm.
put the new pens on the counters.
Oh,
But I was in a business. I had a pension, I had a company car, and
yeah.
I had
And all
a,
your
I had a
moving
job.
processes that you'd, wheeled and dealt beforehand, that helped.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that was my first kind of real job, if you like,
Okay.
because the other ones were like a bit cash in hand and
Yeah.
commission only. But like I was on the ladder, I had like a salary and I had a pension and I had a pay slip. Like
Yeah.
I was like, right, I'm in, got
Yeah.
it. And
Hmm.
bided my time. I was with that business for 5 or 6 years, and I just sales role came up, threw my hat in the ring, got the sales role. Well, before I knew it, I was running the sales team, and then I
Awesome.
had regional roles, and I'd kind of work my way up, and then you get a name for yourself in the industry. The
Yes.
competitors kind of look what you're doing. Went to a big competitor. I was with them for 10 years, and that's where I really like honed my craft. Did all the roles, so like this is a funny thing that I always think. Everybody's so scared of the word sales, aren't they? So
Yes.
we call ourselves everything else other than a salesman or a salesperson, don't we? So I was a territory manager. I was an engineer. I was area account manager, key account manager, business development manager. Really, you're a salesperson. You're speaking to customers. You're trying to get them to buy something.
Yes.
Trying to add
Absolutely.
value, you know.
Yeah.
So I did all the sales roles. I did every single sales role, national account manager, ran teams, kind of worked my way up to, I think in that business, they were a huge business. So I was a sales director of a certain like element of it, if you like.
Okay.
And at that point I was starting to go, right, I'm a bit sick of being in corporate now. Like you're just that number feeling. So I'd had an opportunity, a bit of a crossroads. I was going to go as a sales director to another big, large corporate, or I was going to take a little bit of a gamble and a risk and go to a family-run business
Okay.
and do a bit of a growth piece for them. So
Hmm.
I got really excited about building teams and change management. And I went off and worked for one, two, three different businesses, kind of doing that change management piece, building sales teams, building culture, motivating people, putting systems and structures and processes around them to be successful, helping them make the mistakes, not make the mistakes of the mistakes that I made when I was in those positions.
Yeah.
And at the same time being a salesman, because that is what a salesman is. And I was growing and nurturing my team and my teams. And then sort of, it got to the point, and I was really lucky because I had quite a global career. So done loads of work across North America, loads of work across the Far East and the Middle East, loads in Europe. All of
Yeah.
a sudden, this little like South African kid who was like never going to leave home has pretty much traveled the world, stayed in all these nice hotels and had all these nice opportunities and experiences. And
Yeah.
I learned so much along the way.
Absolutely.
But I got to the point where I wanted to like do something different.
Yeah.
So I
I want
left.
to interrupt just for a mo. I just want to, for our listeners who are in Australia, for South Africans to travel is not, it's quite a rare opportunity because living in South Africa, it's quite expensive as well. Would you agree? Like it's not something that happens often. Like you, usually if your family is very well off, then you would travel a lot. But you know, the cost of living and to travel, you never really got the opportunity. So that's why it was so great that as a South African, you had all these various opportunities that arose and you got to actually see the world. So I think Australians don't realize how lucky they are to be able to travel at a fairly, well, after the, pre-war stuff, post-war stuff, the expense, everything's gone up, but it's, it's actually quite cost effective to travel, yeah.
I think the biggest thing is like it's the distance. South
Mm,
Africa is at the very southern tip. There's a
yeah,
lot of like landmass in between. So to go anywhere,
yeah,
the typical landmark places you want to go to, New York, Paris, Amsterdam,
yes.
it's a long way from South Africa.
Yes.
It's, connect
Mm,
10, 12 hours on a flight. You've got to connect through somewhere.
very, very
If
true.
I want to go, if I want to go to Paris from Manchester, where I live,
Yeah.
and I wanted to go tomorrow, I can get there in 2 hours.
Wow. So spoiled.
So it's like, I think that's
Yeah.
the difference as well.
Different
And there's probably
lifestyle.
a deal on somewhere where,
Yeah.
if I'm not bothered about what time I travel,
That's so
and it's
cool.
quick and easy. Like I could log on now, see a flight tomorrow, and I could
Yeah.
get there for uh, a fraction of the price it would have cost to get there from South Africa.
Yeah, yeah, it's a different location. We've got Bali that's 4 hours away. You can get a pretty good deal. If you don't take it like luggage, probably about 350 return, which isn't
Yeah,
too bad. But yeah,
yeah,
you guys are right in the hub of everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes you can literally get to some places most of the time if you are clever with how you book for like £50, whatever
Mm,
that works out to be.
wow, that's really good.
You can usually get a little flight for about £50, return
Mm.
flight even.
Oh my gosh, wow, super
Yeah.
cheap.
It
Jeez.
costs more in a taxi to get to the airport than the flight.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Gee. So sorry, you were saying so you had your career and then you kind of realized that being a number wasn't going to be enough?
Yeah, so I was really lucky because I got to be involved with some startup businesses.
Ooh,
So they were young, they were exciting, they were fast paced. They'd been Some of them had been through like a couple of rounds of investment, and it was like here's something to play with, David. And it was
yeah,
like it was building, so it was a lot of them. Two of them were taking a product from like an idea
okay.
to go in to get it manufactured through design, through certifications, and all the logistics and everything involved to getting it into like a high street retail store on the high street, like in London or in Japan or in Paris or in New York, like
Hmm.
to take something that was like an idea and be involved in operationally and commercially across that whole process is like
Yeah.
an incredible opportunity to have like experienced elements of those parts and have the people around you to
Hmm.
learn from that make the things happen along the way. It was a great opportunity. So I think I did that for about 3 years across three or four different businesses. Had the opportunity to be involved and do that and sort of advance my knowledge as well, not just
Yeah.
sales all of a sudden anymore. It was a lot of commercial, a lot of operational, a lot of marketing as well, which did me so well. And then it sort of led me to the business that I have now,
Yes.
which is called Sales Geek. So Sales Geek was also born out of the frustrated sales director who was kind of like sick of being a number.
Yeah.
So I'd made a really good friend in the industry. We worked together across three different companies. I think he's still a really good friend today, and he founded this business. And he started off being a fractional sales director. So the fractional kind of FD, financial director, was like a tried and tested one. There was always a fractional FD somewhere. But his idea was, that small to medium sized business that can't afford that sales director because it would just crumble, kill them. But
Mm.
also it was catch 22, right? Like you need cash flow to
Yeah.
grow and run any business. To get more cash flow, you need more sales, better
Yeah.
margins. To do that, you need some knowledge, know-how, some muscle, but you can't afford it.
Yeah.
So it's like So all of a sudden, we thought, he thought, what I can do is I can make this accessible to anybody. They can have it on like half a day a month, and then get somebody in on an invoice off the bottom line with no on costs. And all of a sudden, they've got somebody with some really tangible skill sets
Yeah.
that can, turn the right dials to make the needle move.
Mm.
And what an amazing thing that is. What an amazing model, and the opportunity that you can like parachute into some of these small businesses, a small business owner, and you can really help them move without the risk of that huge investment. And the idea was it was consume as you need. You can dial it up, you can dial it down,
Oh, that's
and you
cool.
can really grow. And then I think the way the world moved and the business world moved over the last 10 years, sales directors were kind of being managed out because they were an expensive line item on a P&L.
Yeah.
And businesses started taking the best salesperson and they're making them a player manager, really common thing. But
Oh,
I think they made a mistake. They were diluting their best asset because they were taking the person who was making the most sales. They were only bringing in half what they're bringing now because they were only going to manage, five key accounts or whatever it was.
oh, sure. Mm.
And then they were given a skill set that they didn't possess. Go and
Yeah.
manage this team, people skills, motivate them, incentivize them. They were not good at that because they were good at selling.
Yeah.
Very, very different job, a sales director to a sales manager or business development person or, hunter, gatherer, account manager, like very, very different job than somebody managing people, motivating people, making sure they get best out of their mentorship, coaching, really, really different. So that made like a huge gap over the last 10 years in businesses. Perfect for somebody like a sales geek to go, we'll take on the helm of that
Yeah.
and then put your best salespeople back on the road. They enjoy doing it because they're getting paid commission to make the sales. So
Yeah.
you're not taking anything off them. In fact, you're adding value to them because they can just concentrate on what they're good at. And we'll take on the burden, if you like, of putting the structure and the strategy and the process and the know-how in. And, on a day, a week, sometimes you can still run the weekly sales meeting. You can still hold that team accountable and you can still build a good enough relationship with them to drive and move that business forward. And yes, of course, some bigger organizations with hundreds of people in will need a sales director.
Yeah.
But our target market is that smaller business, whether it just be that founder owner led business that everything still kind of comes through their desk.
Okay.
And we need to put a layer of infrastructure in so they can work more on the business rather than in it.
Mm.
Or maybe it's a small business with a small team, 10, 20 people, and you can, be that person once a week that really helps them drive the business forward. And that's how it started. And it started there with that product and that service. And he grew the business incredibly well. And I think in the third year, he was playing with different services. So he found out that you'd go in, put this really nice environment in place for people to be successful in,
Yeah.
but then there were gaps in people's skill sets. So would do a skills gap analysis, you'd identify where the gaps were, and you'd put a layer of sales training in, if you like, to bring the median average of the team up so that they could operate within that new infrastructure that you'd put in.
Yeah.
And together, those things would complement each other and you'd have an even stronger sales engine, if you like.
Yeah.
So, that's on one side of the business, it's the structure and strategy and the process. And on the other side, it's helping with people's skill sets and filling the gaps
Right.
through training.
Mm.
And I'd been, and what attracted me as well was, at the time they went through like an accreditation. So it's independently accredited by an independent body and it's formal training that counts for something. It's not just something that somebody's kind of put together and thrown on a PowerPoint. It's
Sure.
not just something that's been run through AI. It's got to be assessed, it's got to be measured, it's got to be tried, it's got to be tested, it's got to be embedded and being able to implement. It can't just be like some kind of blanket thing. Because when I was a sales director, we'd get somebody in for the regional meeting. They'd come in, it'd be a bit of a death by PowerPoint. Everyone would say that was great. But next week, they'd be back to old habits. They wouldn't be changing
Any
anything. And
changes?
it
Yeah.
was just spending a budget for a budget's sake.
Yeah. Of
So,
course.
that was really attractive that those kind of two things work together. And then in and amongst that, there's a whole host and layer of other stuff that we might do. You might help somebody with their pitches, their proposals, their bids, their value proposition. You might try and help somebody with an exit strategy, or
Right.
lots of different things that sales directors are good at. You might do
Yeah.
some performance culture management. You might look at different layers of the business and how they might be able to communicate better. there's a whole host of lots of different things, and a lot of the time, if we do a good job, which hopefully we do, we then sort of end up sitting on the board as like a bit of a non-exec director and still having a role there. I always joke and I always say like my goal is to get invited to the Christmas party
Oh,
because I want to feel like I'm part of the
are you?
team.
Yeah,
I
you
want to be
made
one of the
it.
team. I don't want to be a consultant that plugs in and
Yeah,
plugs out.
yeah,
I don't
of
really want to
course.
be your business coach. I want to be tangible, part of
Mm,
the team, on the front line. I want to come to the Christmas party.
yeah,
Give me, I want to be on the Christmas card list, sort of thing,
absolutely.
And I want to prove that I can pay for myself quite quickly and early on. They see the value, they see the
What,
return on
yeah, what you
investment,
guys
and they
do.
shouldn't have to worry about how much we cost,
Yeah.
because they can see the value.
So you
Um,
started up the Manchester branch? Is that
Yeah,
right?
so so in Manchester, it's split into boroughs, if you like. There's
Okay,
9 boroughs that make up Manchester.
cool.
And I suppose over the last 5 years, I've bought all the franchises and grown a team and a network in there. So I own all of what's called Greater Manchester, if you like.
Right, okay,
So
makes sense.
the Sales Geek infrastructure it's quite a global business now. There's 5 master franchises across the US, and they have franchise networks, yeah, underneath them. They
Yeah,
have the same in India, and they have the same in Mongolia as well, funnily enough, in a different language, which is really interesting. In the
interesting. And Australia?
UK, there's roughly, pardon?
But you guys aren't in Australia yet, are you?
No, not yet, but I know that
Yeah.
there's some conversations and things happening. I might be coming to, visit you. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, well,
Maybe
we'll
that'd be
have to
good.
do actual
Yeah,
podcast in the studio.
yeah. We are in the studio. What are you talking about?
Absolutely. Sorry, my bad. Thanks,
But
Steve.
in the UK, there's kind of like, I don't know, 30 franchises, roughly
Wow.
something like that. And I suppose I'm lucky enough at the moment, at least until America grows, I've got the largest global network of franchises and
Hmm.
team at the moment, which is amazing. So yeah, across the board, we've got a skill set to be able to kind of, at least add value to any small,
Amazing.
medium-sized business.
And I'd love to know, Dave, where do you find most business owners go wrong when it comes to their sales?
I think it's data. I think people do a lot of guessing. I think it's easy in sales to be overconfident.
Yeah.
Most good salespeople get labeled with the gift of the gab. You know, you
Yes.
can be good at building rapport. You can be really confident. But that's only a small part of that sales cycle and that sales process. I'm data driven. I like numbers. I don't think they lie, and you can sense check, double check, and you can really wrap some armor around yourself. If you have the numbers, you can not kid yourself, and you can make sure you're stress testing things properly, and have a layer of reliability around you to make sure you're moving in the right direction.
Hmm. And I know you've got a bit of a controversial opinion for someone in sales. You've said that people don't buy from people. Please unpack that.
Yeah, so I did a talk once, and I said this phrase, and somebody sent me a magazine in the post, and in the middle there was this page with me on, and it said David Mercado, people don't buy from people.
Oh,
I've
wow.
got
It's a
I
double
should have had it
standard.
today to show you. It's
Yeah.
somewhere.
Have you
So
got it?
I said I will have it somewhere. I'll get an
Yeah,
image
send
of
us a
it.
photo. We can put it in the episode.
Yeah, people don't buy from people. People buy
Right.
from people that they like.
Oh, right. Okay. Yes, yes. There's a difference.
People buy from people. Yeah, people buy from people
Yeah.
that they like.
Mm.
That was what I said.
Yeah, yeah, right. Oh, so they left off the. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Fair enough. You've also said that sales and marketing should be a partnership, not two separate teams. What does it cost a business when they get that wrong?
So I think that's a recent thing. When I was in the midst of the my career, if you like, sales and marketing was often one role. You'd have sales and marketing director. It wouldn't just be marketing. It wouldn't just be sales. There were two things. They are both part of the sales process. The world had some like big tectonic shifts. There was like the birth of the internet. I remember, like, walking down the passage at home, passage hallway with the cable that plugged into the phone that you plugged into the back
Yeah,
of
the sound of
the
your
big
phone.
monitor screen, and then there was that noise right before it connected, and
Garrett.
then one page looked like 20 minutes to load. Like, so, I was around before the internet, like, kind of,
Yeah,
so
Shane, you've really given our
remember
age
that.
away.
But it's massively moved on from then. So sales, my
Mm,
granddad was in sales, boot full of samples and all that kind of stuff,
yeah,
catalogs, long before the internet. But we had big tectonic shifts. You had the internet that came along.
yeah.
Then the next big one for me was like social media that came along. Lots of influence, lots of new creation of job roles, lots of videography, podcasts,
Yeah.
lots of ways to educate and communicate with customers in on a completely different level. And now you've got optimized search engines and SEO and pay per click, and
Mm,
sales and marketing did that, and it was always going to do that because it created all of these new roles, and it wasn't like all encompassing, and you had two kind of separate things. And I think in the midst of that, sales and marketing stopped talking to each other. Marketing became marketing, sales
mm,
becomes sales, but really, they're two sides of the same coin. They both are trying to communicate to customers. They both are trying to communicate like a value proposition. They're both trying to solve a problem or a need,
mm.
but a lot of the time they are competing and sending completely two different messages. The
Right.
best businesses in the world look and feel and sound the same from every piece of communication, whether that's somebody talking to them in their office with a cup of coffee or whether they've seen a flyer in the post and everything else in between, all
Yeah, the
social
brand
media influences,
consistency.
everything. But
Mm,
small business owners can get that completely wrong. The amount of times I see an amazingly designed website with video and graphic and images, and it's the best quality you've ever seen,
yeah.
but it's not solving the problem of the customer. There's no persuasive languaging.
Mm,
There's no real messaging. There's no real distinction or why. It's completely different. And then the salesperson turns up to like go and do the deal because marketing, it's top of funnel. It's driving interest. It's driving action. It's driving need. It's driving people to your landing page, to your website. You're collecting data. It's providing lead generation. You know, uh, yes, it will drive sales to a certain point, depending on kind of which business. But on
yeah.
on other businesses, they need then that intervention of the account manager or the team or the ongoing relationship, or there's a little bit more detective kind of homework stuff to do. Um, but a lot of the time, those messages can be wildly different. And I've really had this for real. I went into a business, joined the sales meeting, and I went, "When was the last time to the sales director you spoke to marketing director?" "Oh, well, we've never met." I said, "Well, how
Oh,
long have you both worked in the business?"
yeah.
6 years. And I thought, how have you never? I said this meeting should involve the marketing director, and the marketing meeting should involve the sales director. You
Yeah,
should be a
to
part of each other's meetings.
agree.
You are working hand in hand. You're part of the same team.
Yeah.
That marketing team is providing tools for the sales team, and that sales team is providing feedback for the marketing team.
Yeah.
Like, you should be working together. At the very scratching the basic level of it, they don't talk to each other, and I just find that mad.
There's a lot of, I think, misconception around like sales, marketing, brand, like that brand consistency between those departments is so important because, like you said, if you've got two different main messages that you're communicating, there's like a rift that happens in the brand.
Yeah. I also think it becomes competitive. As humans, human nature, you're competitive. And I think sales and marketing have started to compete. And I think you have to differentiate. So I see a lot of marketing businesses out there who have got, well, there's two sides to it. You're selling your business to a client so that they buy your marketing service. So you're doing the sales bit up front. So
Mm,
because you're selling them the service that you're going to be able to provide, or the
yeah.
product or whatever it is. And I think I see a lot of people kind of get caught up, and sales do this too. So I think marketing do sales badly, and I think sales do marketing badly.
Yeah.
They should really work together and be the experts in their field, but
Yeah.
they don't. So I see a lot of marketing teams that say, "We'll design your ideal client profile for you, and we'll like to," but they're not salespeople. They shouldn't be doing that.
In terms of
Sales Geek are really good at what they're doing,
Yeah.
because they're not trying to be consultants. They're not trying to be business coaches. We're trying to show you tangibly what is going to make the needle move. We want to stay in our lane and be experts in our lane. We're not trying to be, what I sort of alluded to before, a little bit
Yeah.
good at everything, because that's rubbish.
Hmm.
Usain Bolt is a 100-meter sprinter, 200-meter sprinter.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he'd run a pretty damn good marathon. Do you? But why
Yeah.
would he start going to try and run a marathon? He's one of the best runners in the world. But
Okay.
listen,
Yeah.
go and run. Just you good at be more good at doing the things that you're good at. Don't
Yeah.
like, people. I think a lot of people and a lot of failures in sales teams is they'll look at where their weaknesses are and then they'll try and focus at bringing their weakness up. And I think that's the wrong way to look at it. I think you should look at what you're good at doing, forget about the weaknesses, let them be weak, and make the thing that you're better at doing even better, and
Yeah.
stay in your lane. And then, you can then leverage somebody else. We'll go into a business, we'll see that they've got a social media gap or a marketing gap.
Hmm.
I'm not going to try and fill that. I'm going to go and get an expert to help them because that expert will make me look good. I don't know enough about it to really help.
Yeah.
I know enough to be dangerous, and that's dangerous. Do you know
Yes.
what I mean?
Yeah, but I'm actually really glad you mentioned that because I think a lot of business owners will try to do stuff themselves and end up wasting their time when they could, focus on what they're great at and use their time more productively. So it's good that you've mentioned.
And that's you as a marketeer trying to sell the marketing
No,
service,
not at
right?
all. As a human and as a business owner, because I've done that. Like I think I've mentioned a
Yeah.
couple of times. I tried to set up my own Zero when I first started. I was like, I don't need an accountant. I could do it myself. Oh my word, I was so wrong. Like I wasted a whole weekend, lost the whole Zero thing. Don't ask me what I did. And I was furious with myself. It's 6 years later. I still haven't forgotten. So now I'm like, I'd rather get an expert in, rather pay that amount, whatever that, get them to do it as opposed to me trying to do it who has no idea what I'm doing or to say I did it myself. Like I just think it's not worth it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So you've been inside startups, corporates, scaling businesses. You've seen sales done brilliantly and you've seen it destroy companies. What is one thing that separates the businesses that get it right from the ones that never do?
I think it's just a lot of what we've been speaking about now. I
Yeah.
think, having that layer of consistency,
Mm.
having that layer of data so you can go back and sense check and double check and make sure you're kind of doing the right thing. But I think the businesses that get it wrong don't put enough time and energy and effort into that consistency piece. I think they will try something for 5 minutes, decide for themselves that it's not working, try something else,
Yeah.
decide that's not working, try something
Like a
else,
quick
and they
fix.
will flit around and jump from one to the other. There's a lot of truth to the phrase, trust the process.
Mm.
I think, you see there's a lot of tried and tested models. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of good people around. You've got to stick to something to kind of give it a chance. You've got to show some grit and resilience and determination and not falter. I think with the kind of businesses that I deal with, they're generally quite new and they give up too quickly. Not on the business, but on maybe trying something.
Okay.
You need to give something a chance and trust in it
And what
and back it up by data.
yeah, like what would be a good time to give something a proper go? Like is it a year or two? Or I mean how long is a piece of string?
Um, I think it kind of like depends what it is, but I
Okay.
think you need to commit to something. So with our services, we don't tie anybody in, for example. We say it's a 30-day rolling contract. We're going to do something for this first month. It's either working or it's not, you like it or you don't like it. But
Hmm.
a lot of the time I'll say, depending on the project, I'll say, look, give me 3 months. We'll set a roadmap. We'll have a Gantt chart or something between us. We'll have an area of priorities. We'll set timelines against them, and we're going to see what we achieve, and we can see the outlook from the start. But let's just see if we achieve those kind of milestones, kind of along the way. So it can be something. It depends what it is. It depends what they're trying to achieve. But I think if you set out clear objectives from the beginning, and you can set clear trackable timeframes from them, stick with it, go through it. Don't you've done your marathon plan, Just because it went out the window by like, mile 20 doesn't
That
mean you have to,
happens. Well,
yeah, this is
but
what
when
I'm
you have a
saying.
gel and you haven't had a gel in your training, Tracy,
Yeah.
mistake.
Yeah. Those thoughts start creeping in. Yeah.
Absolutely. Dave, I'd love to know, what do you believe makes someone extraordinary?
So I love this because there's so much data on this, but there's a guy called Alex Hormozy, and he's
Yeah.
got kind of like a take on this, and I really like the take on it. I suppose maybe it's grown into kind of my take on it, but
Hmm.
um, the gist of it is being extraordinary is possible for anybody. Anybody can be extraordinary. I think on the surface of it, people might look at somebody and think, wow, look at them. You know, they've won an Olympic gold medal. They've,
Yeah.
achieved this, they've achieved that. They're extraordinary.
Hmm.
But I think what they don't see is, the little feet of the duck pedaling as fast as they can pedal underneath the water. And I
Yeah.
think, being extraordinary is accessible to everybody because if he uses the example of like the guy in the gym. You go
Hmm.
in the gym, you see the guy there, he's like, super in shape, he's got the biceps and the shoulders and the legs that you want. And you go,
Yeah.
wow, look at that. It must be great to be like that. That's extraordinary. And
Yeah.
what's extraordinary is you didn't see that guy's been going there for 24 months. He's been
Absolutely.
coming every single day. When he goes home, he's eating all the right foods. He's going to bed on time. He's doing his stretches. He's going in the sauna. He's doing his recovery. He's not going out with his friends drinking. He's not into temptation. And come the morning, he's there in the gym and he's following his plan and he's doing it. And I think the act of doing that, come sun or rain, over and over again consistently for an extended period of time, not one day, not one month, not 3 months, but 24 months, over and over and over again. The act of doing that is what's extraordinary, and that what makes extraordinary possible for everybody because everybody can do that. It's a choice.
Absolutely. And I can speak to that. It took me 24 months of hard yards. So I head down, bum up in my business. My business grew by 250%. And then with my health, I lost 22 kilos. And it was just that honest discipline. Like I honored the plan. Like if it was raining, I'd go run in the rain, or like I just had to show up every single day. And just, you eventually eating the same stuff because you're trying to eat high protein. I started fasting in the beginning. And just honestly, honoring exactly what you've just said, I got results I never ever thought were possible. And now I've even comments have been made, and oh, Trace, it's easy for you. And I'm like, not a chance. I still have to show up every single day because I can like backslide at any moment, but it's a conscious choice that you make to show up every day with that discipline and honor like the best version of yourself. So exactly
Yeah,
that 2 year time frame, you've nailed it on the head. That's exactly how it was. Mm.
brilliant.
On that note, the 13 Valleys Ultra, the London Marathon, the Hybrid Games, there's such a list, Born Survivor, and now the Lakeland 50. What does pushing your body to those limits teach you about business that nothing else can?
So I think, it's the underlying, there's a lot of underlying things in there, but ultimately, I think for me, and again, it's another Alex Hormozy quote, if you
Yeah, I
like.
love him. It's
He
great.
says, he says, okay, I'll set the tone. So it's quite an exposing thing running your own business and doing what we do. It's quite exposing. So if you can imagine, typically you would start with a new business and you'd walk into the boardroom, and in the boardroom will be the board of directors, and they're
Yeah,
all going, "Hey, David, what do we do?" And if you can't tell them what to do, and you can't prove some tangible value, and you can't make the needle move like pretty quick and show some quick
yeah,
wins, like it's really exposing. It's really exposing.
yeah,
It's not like you can like hide in an induction process for like a while, and you can be there for 6 months, and they give you some grace because you're new.
that's
It's
the
like,
answer.
no, we've hired you to be the experts. It's really exposing. So Alex says, have a stack of undeniable proof that says you are who you say you are.
Mm,
Because imposter syndrome, I think, is like a term that's thrown around and it's like a real thing. So, how do you banish imposter syndrome? Well, you have a stack of undeniable proof that says who you are, you say you are. And even then, your own self doubt doesn't count because you've actually done the thing that you said you were going to do.
yeah, yeah,
And then that kind of like doesn't exist anymore. So like I set out to do these things and I won't falter and I won't, well, I think about faltering, yeah. Well, I think about quitting, yeah. Well, there'll be moments where I go, why are you doing this? But then I'll just go back to going, no, do you know what? I am going to complete this because I want to add this to my stack of undeniable proof that says who I am,
Love
I
it.
said I am. Because, and actually, I've done this before and I've been here before and I felt that way before. And every time you've been to those really dark, hard places, I've been there before and I know that I've got through them and like I know that it's gonna be like it's gonna be okay. So, I can go there again. So let me go there again. Let me push it a bit further. Let me see like what more is here as well. And I think, there's that, I can take from everybody's in a different position, right? When I was a kid, I can't remember where I heard this from. I think it was Tony Hawk. Do you remember the skateboarder?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think it was Tony Hawk when I was a kid, and it's always stuck with me. And he said, I remember hearing him speak once, and he said, and he was like, best skateboarder in the world, and PlayStation like signed a deal with him. He had like all the games after him.
I
And
remember.
he said, there's always somebody better than you. Always. But there's always somebody worse than you. There's always somebody worse than you. There's always somebody better than you.
Mm.
And I think of that all the time. So, I think this is amazing because I don't put myself on like some kind of pedestal saying that I'm better than anyone because I don't believe anybody's better than anyone.
Yeah.
We're all human and we're all trying to do our best, right? But then it just also is like quite a humbling feeling because I need to like be kind to myself and I need to like recognize that to some people they think, wow, look what David's done. Like, that's amazing. And I don't want to like take that away from them. I don't want to like belittle that and go like, oh, what I'm doing is nothing. Because then it makes like
Yeah.
what they're doing super nothing then. And that's not fair. But I can also recognize that in the grand scheme of things, in endurance sports has taken off massively. Like you, 10 years ago, you'd go into work and went, I did a park run. How far is that? 5K. And then people go, wow, you ran 5K. Oh my God. Like, so, you're going to work now and went, oh, I did the Manchester Marathon yesterday.
Yeah,
They were like,
yeah.
oh, and what else? Like, it's just dismissed. Like, it's nothing now. I did
It's
two
so
marathons this
true.
weekend. I did one on Saturday and one on Sunday. They're like, oh, okay. What else did you do? Like, it's
Yeah.
become like this, it's such a, endurance sport. So you get people completing these crazy things you would have thought was like super like non-human. Like a friend of mine is starting a challenge in May and he's going to run two marathons a day for 100 days in a row.
Earlier. Wow.
That's insane. How do you even prepare your body for that for one? How
Yeah.
do
I
you
can't
recover
get my
from
head
that?
around that.
How, like never mind the fatigue or the energy or the prep or anything that go like that is, but I also don't want to neglect or detract from his 200 marathons in 100 days. It's just the same for some people's first 10K.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's as big as that for some people. And you're like, it's the perception of effort and where they are and, doing those things over and over again. Those 10Ks might become 15Ks, those 15Ks might become half marathons. And then, it's their version of extraordinary. It's extraordinary possible for them. So I'm kind of like in this funny place where, I don't see myself kind of anywhere, but I also want to recognize it because I still might be able to motivate and inspire someone somewhere
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
play
And
my kind
how
of part as these other guys motivate and inspire me because some things that some people are doing are like insane.
it's next level.
Like
Absolutely.
there's a book. I'll have to send you the link to it. I can't think of the guy's name now, but there's a
Yeah.
guy he did 100 Ironmans in 100 days,
100. Oh
and
my
on
word. I think I've
and
heard.
on the on day 60 he fell off the bike and broke his back,
Oh my
and he
word.
was like he was unconscious for a few hours. And he woke up, got back on the bike, finished the run, and then still did another 40 Ironmans with his like,
Awesome.
fractured spine. And the
Wow.
funny thing is, at the end of the book, I'll have to send you what is because it's
Yeah.
incredible. And then on the 101st day, his friend called him and said, I'm good doing an Ironman. Will you come do it with me?" He had no idea he'd just done it. And he went, "I see, done 101."
Oh my,
Isn't that mad? But
wow.
to some people, and one Ironman is just
Like,
so far away from being even possible.
yeah. Do you think it's because your mind kind of And I know this also from running, like, do you kind of get used to that number and you just keep adding on?
I think it's a combination of things. I don't, people always say, it's in your mind, it's in your mindset. You listen
Yeah,
to like
mine doesn't
Ulib Kipchoge, super world
matter.
class, arguably best marathon runner in the world, and he's like, running's not about your leg muscles, it's about your mind muscle. But I don't know so much about that. I think you still need to have strength. You still need to have condition. It's all the other stuff. Your mind can be as strong as it wants to be, but like if your body won't go, it won't go. And
Yeah,
yeah, most people think the body won't go, and it will still go a lot further than it will. But there'll become a point where it actually won't go.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And that's a good second to my next question, because at what point does pushing hard stop being strength and start costing you everything?
So I've been through this literally
Yeah,
recently. I
yeah.
have literally been through this recently, which is what's like pushed me down this route of becoming what I call the pretend athlete.
Oh, yeah.
So, to try and paint the picture, so Leo, he's hard of hearing, he's deaf, my son, and we decided we wanted to do something for the National Deaf Children's Society.
Hmm.
So contacted them and a few conversations back and forward. They said, "You're into your fitness. That's great. We've got a spot on our team to run in the London Marathon." I thought that's amazing. I'm going to do that.
Oh, yeah.
But even though the sportsman that I've been, a sportsman, I'd never actually consciously put some trainers on to go for a run.
Right.
My run was touch the fence and back, and then you run like in the game that you're playing. I'd
Okay.
never actually gone for a run.
Run. Right. Just
And it's very different. It's a very different fitness. So I went off, bought some trainers, put them on for the first time, and I set off from home, from here, from this door, and I
yeah,
went for a run for the first time ever. And I've got the London Marathon coming up, right?
yeah.
I got 1 kilometer from home. I sat down on the side of the road and I got my phone out to get an Uber to get home.
Oh my
And I
word.
thought, what the hell? I thought, I can't breathe. My
Yeah.
shins are aching. My calves are tight. I'm like, but I go to the gym and I'm in shape. And I'm like,
So
why? I'm like, what
different.
have you done? So I didn't get an Uber home. I walked home, just so everyone knows.
And
But it
how
was
far
like,
was the
and I
marathon?
was I was aching. I was aching like I'd done two marathons a day for 100 days. Like the next day, and
Wow.
I'd walked 1K and run 1K, and
Hmm.
I'd the very first, and I just went on this journey of like teaching myself how to run, teaching
Yeah.
myself how to breathe, teaching myself how to be more efficient, teaching myself how to use my fascial system, teaching myself like where do you put your arms, where do you put your feet, what are your different landing patterns, what suits your body shape. The data in me started being like, right, I'm going to track and measure all of these things. I went down this thing and I got really good at it. And I was good at doing all of these things. And, then I started ticking off like the running milestones. I ran 5K without stopping. I ran 5K without stopping. The
Nice.
first time I ran 5 kilometers without stopping, and I've got a screenshot of this, it took me 54 minutes,
Wow.
right?
Hey, you made it. That's the main thing.
Listen, that was my extraordinary at the time.
Yeah.
I've since my 5K PB at the moment, I think is 18:56. So
Wow.
it's come on a long way. I'm
Gee,
I'm not a fast I'm not
that's
a fast
great.
runner. I'm a finisher. Like no one likes a fast finisher, do they? So I
You are
finished
a
the
fast
race.
runner. That's 18. What did you say?
Yeah,
18.3.
I can't keep it up for that long though. Do you know what I
Oh,
mean? I'd
wow. I'm
rather
still
take my time.
22.6. I can't seem to. I've sort of parked the marathon long distance now. I'm going to focus on my 5K. But yeah, I'm
I
stuck
can
at
help you with that. I can help you.
thank
I can
you.
help you with
Yeah,
quicker.
when you come to
Help you with
Australia, you'll
quicker.
have to teach me how to run faster.
See, I don't think it's about running fast. Obviously, the side effect is running faster, but there's other things you can do that will just make you go faster
Oh,
without you
cool. Please
realizing.
let me know. Let
I'll
me know
help you. I'll
because
help you.
yeah, it's
But this is like, so we've been on this, like, this is the journey, this massive journey that I've been on to like teach myself to run. And now I've lost my train of thought. Where
you were
was I
saying
going with
you
that?
were signed up for the London Marathon. So
Yeah,
how
so
far were you from there? Did you have like a couple of weeks
Um,
or?
no, no, I had like a proper training block. I was like, I
Oh,
was 12
good,
weeks out, whatever, got
good.
all the apps and kind of, taught myself kind of, and then that was like kind of the first one. I know where I was going with this. So did the London Marathon. That was hard. Finished it, the fatigue at the end, everything like that. But then, on to the next one. And then I started pushing the boundaries a bit. I started doing some ultra marathons. So then I did like, one that was marathons 42K, some change. Then I did a 55K. Then
Wow.
I found the trails and the hills. That's so much for me anyway. No
Yes.
one cares about what time you did. Then everyone just wants to know whether you finished it. It's about the place, not the pace.
The
You
scenery.
can walk, that's cool. You
Hmm.
can eat as well, which is
No,
like that's
I
a
can't.
great
I'm a
sport
mom.
for me. Like I love stopping at the aid stations and like having a piece of pizza. Like
Really?
I've
Oh,
just
I
I've
can't.
just burned.
Well,
No, yeah, but you need to come trail running. You're out for a day. You're out
I've
for the
done
day.
trail running.
You're
It's
on.
pretty brutal. I found muscles in my kneecaps I didn't know I had.
Oh yeah, come do some trail running with me. I'll teach you. It's a nice day out. Carry more stuff on you. You've got a
Oh,
bag on. You got all your things. Like, you don't have to worry where the next water thing is. You've got it with you. Like,
yeah. Yeah, you're packing stuff.
it's a different strategy, and that's taught me a lot. And then we went training into the 13 valleys and things. And then that becomes a game of survival. The
Mm.
13 Valleys really opened my eyes to it. So the 13 Valleys is a lot further. That took me 27 hours and 11 minutes.
Mm.
But imagine just trying to stay awake for 27 hours. People can't, you're falling asleep, aren't you?
No, I lasted that when
I
I
was,
went to the
I
grave.
was,
That
I
was
was
bad
on the
enough.
move. I was on the move, walking, hiking, running. I was on the move for 27 hours, 11 minutes. You're running
Wow.
through like, the dark in the night. There was a terrible storm in the middle. You've got 6 hours of sideways rain, can't see a thing. Total like misty cloud cover, whiteout. You go
Yeah.
into some dark places in your mind. Why am I doing this? And then, but the thing that I enjoyed about it, it becomes survival then. Three-quarters of the people that entered that race did not finish. And now it's not like just your average park runner that enters that race. You build up to it. You've
Yeah.
got to collect what like points. You've got to collect these points, and they've got to they double check them like against your Strava to see that you've
Wow.
done at least another like two ultra marathons of similar distance before they let you enter, because it's dangerous. If you get caught on the top of the hill and the weather changes, it's life threatening. It can be dangerous. So the people that have entered this are all capable of doing that distance.
Yeah.
Yet three-quarters of the field did not finish.
Wow. That's a
So
good
for me,
number.
it's a completely different skill. It's not just about being a good runner. Just because you can run a 3-hour marathon doesn't mean that you're going to now go and do a 20-hour ultra.
No.
You have to get good at eating. You've got to train your gut. Like, is your stomach going to be upset because you're taking on,
Ugh.
you can be taking on 150 grams of carbohydrates an hour every hour for
Wow.
27 hours.
Oh,
Can
wow.
you eat that much? So
Oh,
it's hard.
it would be.
How good are you at not getting a blister?
Oh, yeah.
How
So sore.
people get a blister from doing 5K in a park run.
Yes.
When you go through kilometer 100 and
Wow.
still don't have a blister, that's a skill.
Absolutely. Was there anything
How do
during
how how, how do you not get a cramp?
Ugh.
How do you stay dry? Like what do you do in an emergency? What do you do if
Yeah,
you twist your ankle and you're like 10 miles from the next aid station? It becomes like this game of survival.
yeah, different
And
skills.
like, and then it's like, so I started enjoying that then because I'm like super prepared and I've learned all this stuff and I know all the tricks and I know where to pack and how to carry. And, my nutrition head's calculating how many calories per hour I'm going to need. And I've got ups and downs and I've got all my salts and you know, calculating how much sweat I've lost, how much water I need to put back in. And it becomes like this whole like strategic thing.
Science. Yeah.
That's why I finished. That's why I was one of the lucky ones that kind of got over the line. But like those things are insane. And then where I was going with this is
Hmm.
that stubborn kid who just went, I'll just keep going.
Yeah.
Was still it's still in me, right? It's
Yeah.
still like I'm still that kind of person. And then I think I looked back, Garmin like gives you like a report after 12 months about
Yeah.
like what your 12 months looked like. And the previous 12 months I'd run 350 kilometers a month on average every single month of the year.
Wow. That's a
Or
lot.
from going from not even being able to run one
Oh,
to
word.
averaging
Wow.
350 a month for like the last 12 months.
Jeez.
But it massively took its toll on me. So I ran a local marathon and this was the start of it. I ran a local marathon and I crossed the finish line and I just got this pain in the back of my knee. I sat down, couldn't stand up.
Oh.
Long story short, it was a horrendous experience, but I spent like 2 days in A&E with nerve
Oh.
damage.
Oh,
A
wow.
nerve, my perennial nerve in the back of my knee, and nothing would get rid of it, not morphine, not anything. And I
Oh,
don't know if
how
anybody's ever
painful.
experienced this, but there was I just could not sleep. I didn't sleep for days because the pain wouldn't let me sleep. No
Oh,
matter what I did, I could not sleep. I was walking around aimlessly, hobbling around the house in the middle of the night aimlessly,
oh my
trying
goodness.
to rub gels and creams and taking tramadols, and I was just like, I was like Tiger Woods on the like I could sympathize. You know what I mean? I was like, how am I going to get rid of this? Right? And anyway, went away. And then I carried on running my 350
Oh my
kilometers every month.
gosh, you're
And
relentless.
then, right, so then in November last year, I started getting pain in the middle of my back, waking up, and I thought, oh, it's this again. And I just like, osteopath, physio, thought it was like a muscle thing,
Yeah,
all massage gun on it, did all the stretches, and by this point I was doing lots of other things as well. I was doing like the hybrid stuff. I was doing like the Olympic lifting. I was doing the gymnastics. I was back in the gym, moving the weights around. I was doing all these things thinking, oh, I've just pulled something like in my shoulder blade. That's what it
yeah,
is. Um, but it started on this like I was tracking my biomarkers like with my Garmin, like I could see how bad my sleep was. I could
right.
see how my cortisol levels were spiking on the stress levels on the watch in the middle of the night. And again, I started using like the data.
Yeah,
Could see
yeah,
my HRV levels were like plummeting. My average heart rate was like having spikes in the middle of the day. I'd just be sitting doing nothing. My average heart rate from being so fit used to be low 40s.
yeah.
And then I'd be sitting in the office and all of a sudden my heart rate would be like 120 and I'd
Oh
be
my
sat at
goodness.
the desk going, what, why?
Yeah.
Why? And I'd realized that I'd fried my nervous system.
Oof.
My body has been stuck in the sympathetic nervous system. It's been stuck in fight or flight mode
Because of the
constantly.
endurance
And
sport?
then, pardon?
Because of the endurance sports, or
I'd be just pushing myself to the limits and not
yeah,
never ever and being stubborn and not taking time to focus on any recovery.
I can relate to
And
that.
I started doing work into this, and it's a really common thing with endurance athletes, and you don't realize it, and you learn how to operate inefficiently at those lower levels. And
Yeah,
lots
that's
of Tour de
yeah.
France guys will have like a really low HRV, and then they'll say, "Well, that's consistent. It's normal. It's consistent." They've learned to operate at like the lower level, but it's not necessarily right. And then I started, speaking to some supplement businesses and companies, and I'm actually really lucky. I found a company that's we've got into like a partnership together. They've signed me up as like an official athlete for them. They're called Muto. I'll give you the link so you can
Yeah,
share
sure. Please.
with everybody else. But their whole thing is about recovery, wellness, longevity,
Mm.
stress management, cell regeneration. Like they're an incredible business. The guy behind it, they're all sort of scientists. So I started not just doing that. I started really focusing on how do I get my nervous system in a better place. And I
Yeah.
was waking up in the morning feeling like an old man. I was holding the handrail trying to go down the stairs. And
Wow.
it would take me like a few hours before I could like actually get moving again. I couldn't put my shoes on. My whole nervous system was that tight. It just wouldn't let me go. But I didn't kind of realize at the time. It was all like through a journey. So
Yeah.
I'd massively injured myself, not through like a physical injury that you could see, like pulling a muscle,
Yeah.
but my whole system was just on edge constantly all the time. And since November to now, what are we in April?
Yeah.
I now, through all the work that I've done, have never felt better. I feel like I'm 20 years old again. My all my markers have completely turned around. Everything that I've done, I spring out of bed in the morning, touch my toes straight away. There's no like my nervous system is like in a really good and healthy place. So I feel like coupling that with everything that I've known, like I'd run I'd push myself, I'd do a run, and then I'd be hobbling around for the next couple of days. Like for context, I did Manchester Marathon
Mm.
at a week's notice for
Mm. Oh,
charity on
wow.
Sunday.
Yeah,
I've got absolutely nothing wrong with me. I've been for two runs since then. What's today? Thursday. I'm going to go for a run today. Like I'm not even stiff.
that's pretty good.
Nothing. And
Yeah.
it's because I've really focused on recovery. My sleep scores have gone from being, 40%, 50%
Yeah.
to I wake up in the morning, think I've had a bad night's sleep, and it's still registering 80 something percent. This morning, my sleep was 90 something percent. And and typically that wouldn't be because your body's still recovering from the marathon stress 2 weeks
Oh,
afterwards.
yeah.
My HRV is up, my stress levels are down, and it's because I've really gone down like this journey because I'd let it get too far. I've implemented lots of routines before bed,
Yeah.
um, lots of health and nutrition stuff, lots of careful supplementation, vagus nervous system reset protocols, breath work.
Ooh,
I've
easy
really
that.
like focused on this kind of stuff, and I feel like I'm in a better place than ever. So I know that's a long-winded answer, but like I suppose that
Great.
that question that you asked, like kind of around like
Yeah.
injury,
Yeah.
that's like not a. It's probably a common thing that people don't even recognize it, but that's like probably the worst injury that you can have
Yep.
because you can be stuck there forever and never recover, and it's a constant thing that you've got to look after. And I just don't think people realize those things,
No.
and I'll tailor my training in and out depending on how I feel the condition of my body is to run. If I've got a tempo run scheduled, but my markers are down, I'll swap it out for an easy run and do the tempo run when my markers are up, because I know if I neglect it and just do it, it might take me 2 more days to get to a better place. And
Sure.
I've got really used to sleeping good now, and I want to have a good sleep. I'm
Yeah.
like excited to go to bed because I sleep good. When
Yeah.
before I'd put off going to bed because it's like I didn't, I just couldn't wait to wake up.
Yeah. So you track everything on your Garmin?
I've tried lots of different fitness trackers over the years. I'm not married to Garmin necessarily, unless they want to sponsor me. Hint, hint. Only joking.
Garmin
But I
history.
just, I,
Once a
I
day.
mean, yeah, I've just picked one thing. So at least whatever set of data it's giving me is consistent data from
Yeah.
the same device, from the same place.
Yeah, I was sleeping with mine on, but I was becoming a bit like fixated on it. But now that you've mentioned this, because I've just done 2 years of the exact same routine. So Monday's like my chill day. I do yoga, but I didn't have a proper rest day. So I did a marathon 2 weeks ago, and then my coach was like, "Right, you need to have a recovery," and I'm like, "I don't need a recovery. I'll be fine." But I listened. I didn't argue, and yeah, I feel so much better. I actually had my first run this morning. I'm feeling it. I'm not gonna lie, but I had pretty much almost 2 weeks of just doing yoga, stretching, very light weights. It felt weird. I'm going to be honest. But I think, like, from what you've just touched on, it's actually really important to have that proper recovery time because I did the same routine for 2 years. Like, it didn't really
But
change.
imagine now, instead of just maybe feeling like that was the right thing,
Hmm.
what data have you got to put next to that to show you that it was the right thing to do or not the
I
right thing
didn't.
to do?
I've got my Garmin, but I didn't track as much. But after this conversation, I'm going to keep it glued on my wrist and actually have a look because yeah, I felt so much better. Even like the creative thoughts, and I did a walk. Oh my word! Because Karen's like, go for a walk. I'm like, I don't need to walk. I'll just go for a walk. Never mind. And had some great ideas and like two really pivotal ideas for my business. So there is method in recovery. But I think
Yeah.
for so long I pushed back on it because I was like, right, I don't want to break my words to Karen were like, I don't want to break my routine. I've worked way too hard to like get myself into this because I used to be the kind that wouldn't exercise or I'd leave it till the end of the day and it still wouldn't happen. So I was like, nah. But again, like I do like to think I've come quite far in my own journey. So there's definitely truth in what you said. And I've also had like some weird cramps and stuff, which I need to get looked at. But now that you've said about your nervous system, that's probably what I've done to myself. So anyway. Ah, yeah. And Dave, you've said your son is everything to you. What kind of man do you want him to see when he looks at you?
So I actually wrote a post about this, and I was like kind of thinking of what to write on there. And like kids will say in school, like, oh, that's my dad, or that's my mom.
Yeah.
Like I want to give him positive reasons to say that's my dad. There's lots of messages in there, life deals you and everybody else the set of cards that you get dealt. You've
Yeah.
got to accept them. He's kind of grown up with this hearing loss. He's never known any different. He's massively resilient, but I want to be able to like set the example for him so he knows that anything is possible.
Yeah.
Anything is possible. And if he sees his dad doing the hard stuff, I want him to feel like, well, then that makes it possible for him. And I also feel like, I'm a kind of tangible person. I like to, I'd never ask him to do anything that I wouldn't like, put the expectation on myself to do or to not do. So, I want to show him that, I've done it and I can do it. So, you can do it. And I'm not asking you to do something that I haven't already kind of done myself. But I want him to have like every available opportunity in front of him so he can make the kind of right choices for himself and kind of guide and steer him in a way where he feels confident enough to kind of make those choices. Ultimately, I get a kick and a sense of pride out of him being proud to say, that's my dad.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And I also think, I don't want to waste the opportunity either. I'm in a healthy place and I've got the opportunity to be a good dad. So why wouldn't I try and be the best dad that I could possibly be? I want to be able to set a good example for him to give him the best possible chance at anything. And as much as I don't want to let him down, I don't want to let myself down.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I don't kind of do those things and show him those ways and give him my best, ultimately I'd be kind of letting myself down. And the last thing I want to do is let myself down. I want to be in a healthy, strong, and happy place so that I can be kind of like the best dad for him. And again, that kind of hopefully that sets a good tone and a good example for him. And then ultimately, I've armed him with some knowledge that he can kind of make the choice of kind of who he wants to be. But I'm gonna be there with him on the front line when he's trying to break his park run record, for
Yeah.
example, because he wants to run now as well. So
You were saying, and from what I can see on your social media, you're definitely inspiring him. He's very musical, and he ran his first
yeah.
park run. Was it like 2 weeks ago when you
Yeah,
messaged?
so he's done some junior park runs
Yeah.
before, but he's never done like the big boy park run or like the adult one.
Right.
So we had a little bit of a bet. There was some money on the line for it.
Oh, nice.
But if he's only was only 10 years old, he's nearly 11, he's 10. There's some phenomenal kids out there, but for him to break 30 minutes in 5K, I think that's good for anybody. I think hats off to anybody who can run 5K continuously without stopping. Because
Absolutely.
don't forget, my first 5K time was 54 minutes,
Mine was
right?
37 minutes, so he did really well. Yeah.
So this was actually he has run 5K before, but
Okay.
he's never run it continuously without a stop.
So this was continuous?
Pretty much apart from maybe one or two slower steps here and there, he pretty much ran it continuous. But he did it in 29 minutes and 50 seconds. So it has to be pretty
Wow.
continuous.
Go,
So,
Leo. Congrats.
he's
That's
a
awesome.
10-year-old,
Yeah.
5K, 29 minutes and 50 seconds for pocket
Amazing.
money.
Well, yeah, like I said, I think you're really leading by example, and he seems to be very
But it's
inspiring.
it's little things. I remember looking back at him a few times, in there 3 kilometers in when it's starting to burn and it's
Yeah.
starting to get hard, and you're starting to get those first
Oh,
thoughts of self-doubt, thinking I'm just going to stop, I'm just going to walk. But I'm that far. I'm just that little few steps in front of him where he knows he needs to catch up to me, and I've looked back and he's squeezing his fist into the side of his ribs because he's starting to get a cramp. And I'm
yeah.
telling him to just breathe, just take a deep breath, take the next step, just breathe, just slow the pace, just breathe. And I'm like, pacing him, checking the
Lucky to
time
have
on my
you.
Garmin,
Yeah.
just trying to get him through it because I knew he'd crossed the line and he'd feel terrible for that 10 minutes while he's trying to
Yeah.
collect himself again. But then, but he's done it then. And it's like that sense of achievement. But even though he's only 10, that little that hard place that he needed to go to, that resilience, that grit that he had to show.
Yeah.
Now in his formative years, I like to feel like that's gonna stand the test of time when he's got to do
Yeah.
something gritty when he's 20,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah, I took my nephew to park run about 2 months ago. He's only 5. Bless him, he was super like excited. He had his runners on. He was like joining Auntie. So he did 3Ks, which was amazing because I thought he wouldn't get very far.
Yeah.
But park run is such a great community. Everyone's cheering him on. And so Matthias, he did 3Ks. Auntie had to piggyback him for the other 2Ks. Never mind, we got there. But he was so exhausted. We got back here and I said, what do you want for break? He's like, I want scrambled eggs and peanut butter. He sat down and I think it just hit him and he was like, I'm so tired. And he could not stop crying. Poor thing. He hasn't slept at Auntie's house since then. But anyway, but I heard he's running with
She'll
my
make
brother
me do
now.
another run. I'm not going
Yeah, yeah,
there.
yeah. But he's actually started running with my brother. So, which is good because my brother hasn't run in a long time. So I think in some way I've had some impression on him, but it's so nice to see, like he wants to
Yeah,
run.
that's so interesting. Leo's actually for the first time joining the run club at school on Friday, which maybe he felt wasn't necessarily accessible to him. Now it is.
And now it is. So yeah, again, it's yeah, I've really grown to love running. It pushes you. It's such a mixed bag of emotions. Like you're exhausted, but you're so happy because you've, finished something or But yeah, it's been really great. And
And,
I'm
and
just
this is and this is the thing I think for everybody listening, right? You don't have to look like one of these amazing Kenyans to be a runner, do you?
no,
I'm only 5'7" and I'm 95 kilograms. You would never think I would be a runner.
no, I'm 5'4", and I won't say how much I weigh, but yeah, I'm
But
58.
still,
Yeah.
if a kid drew a runner on a piece of paper, they would not be drawing me.
Oh, and you
Like
have
I don't
such
look like I should be a runner.
wow. Yeah, for our listeners, you have to check out Dave's socials. It's David Mercado, is that right?
Yeah, David Mercado, 6'1".
Okay, we'll pop all the links in the show notes because yeah, what I love about your social media is that you actually show part of that process, and I've been trying to do a bit of this in my social media as well, but taking the person on that journey of the run and the scenery and everything. Dave, I'd love to know, it seems to me that you hold yourself to such a high standard all the time. What's one thing that you're proud of is my first question, and do you ever let yourself have a day off from that standard?
I'm proud of my son, actually. I
Mm,
think he's so amazing. I think he's in music. He's incredibly gifted and talented. And
mm.
it's amazing sometimes to just kind of look at him for like a bird's eye view and go, wow, that's like, I'm having a part of molding his little values and his future,
Yeah.
um, like that as well. I think I try every day to be the best version I can of myself so that I can be the best version for kind of other people around me. I think having the corporate career and you was so bothered about, like hitting a number, being a salesperson, doing a good job for, the business. I like to pride myself, or I'm proud of doing things for the right reasons or making the right difference or the right impact or just having a little part and a little difference that's done something else that makes somebody else's day. I like to think I do things for the right reasons.
I just want to say, I always remember you at school, always being like that. You're always very kind. Always, you had your head and your heart were in the right place. I don't think you've changed.
I think that's testament as well to the way that you brought up. Like we were brought up in quite a humble environment. That was,
Yeah.
and my mom and my mom's parents, my grandparents were like the bulk of the people who brought me up. So I guess it's like, and that's perhaps maybe subconsciously why I want to be a really good dad to Leo because I
Yeah.
had such, from a values point of view, that instilled in me, and I know what a difference that's kind of made
Mm.
to me as I've grown up. So I think maybe subconsciously that's kind of at least some of the driving forces of what the dad I'm trying to be and the person I'm trying to be to other people around me. Like I think it's interesting, really, isn't it? Because I probably sometimes I feel like it's selfish. This is going to sound really weird.
Ah,
So, like, 'cause I want to feel like I'm making a difference to other people. I want to feel like I'm adding value and I'm helping other people. But
yeah.
I'm almost doing that selfishly because it makes me feel good.
But I think that's being someone who wants to serve others, like I think that's a calling. That's the essence of being a great human, I think. So I don't think it's
Yeah,
selfish.
yeah.
I have to tell you, when I mentioned your name to my mom, her word straight away was, "He was always such a lovely boy." I was like, "Because mom's always at the tuck shop there, giving us stuff and studying us good." So
Oh
yeah,
wow.
when I mentioned, that was her words that she said. So Auntie
You know
Deb,
what I remember from the tuck shop? I remember having to like save our pocket money. And do you remember? And I still love this today, right? And I don't get enough of them, probably because I'm health conscious, but a Chelsea bun.
oh my gosh,
To
I
get
say
a Chelsea bun.
so good. I have one every now and then. Actually, I had one 2 weeks ago after my marathon. It was justified.
Don't
Yeah,
call it
they're
a
so
Chelsea bun. Yeah,
good.
no one knows what a Chelsea bun is, but
Oh,
like
what do they call it here? It's like a not a Danish. What is
cinnamon swirl.
like a scroll? Yeah, it's like a cinnamon scroll. You get these really tiny ones, but the ones in South Africa for our listeners were like huge. It was
But
like
I
a
think as well because we were so young and so small, so maybe it wasn't that big. But to us, it was like this massive thing
no, I
with
think
loads of like
it's
sugar and cinnamon and raisins in, and then like a massive covering
yeah,
of icing, and it was
like
wrapped in like a cling film or
so
something like
so
that.
good. And that and fireballs. You remember those fireballs you used to get and had like the chewing gum in the middle?
Yeah, and it was always like a competition to see who could like not spit one out.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The second part of my question was, do you ever have a day off from upholding yourself to that high standard?
No, I think it's ingrained in me, but I think to just elaborate on that question is I think I'm really good at like leaving the briefcase by the door, if you like. So there are moments in the day where sometimes, and especially as a business owner, a single parent sometimes as well, you can feel like the pressures and the weight of the world on your shoulders.
Yeah,
And
of
it's
course.
really easy to like get caught up in those anxious moments and thoughts and challenges and struggles. I'm really good, and I have no idea why, and it's probably just practice. I'm really good at almost like turning off like a switch, even if it's just for a moment, to
Yeah.
give myself 10 minutes where I just go, I'm not going to think about that for the next 10 minutes. So I think I use that as a tool. I'm good at coming home at the end of the day, and I'm good at telling myself or putting the coping mechanisms in place that I can't influence and change those things right now, at least not until tomorrow. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to let them like eat away at me and cause me any anxious feelings or thoughts or stresses. I'm quite good at I'm going to pick that up in my little diary of life or whatever, and it's only
Yeah.
going to like commence at 8 o'clock on Monday morning. I'm
Mm.
quite good at that.
Boundaries. So for all the business owners listening, what is one thing that they need to be aware of when it comes to their sales? What would your one piece of advice be?
I do think you need to use the data. I think it needs to be metric driven. I think there needs to be a layer of qualification in it. You don't want to, there's a reason why people get called busy fools,
Yeah.
um, that sort of thing. I think you're much, sales today is more about building relationships. There's only so many reasons why somebody might buy something. People will say, people buy because we have the best people, or we have the best quality, or we have the best product. That I don't think those are necessarily reasons why people actually buy something, because no business sets out to have bad people or a bad quality product.
Yeah.
Everybody believes in their product and service and thinks it's great, but you leverage the things that you're good at. And I think some businesses are really good at cost. Some people do have the most cost effective product. Things like quality and things might need to suffer. Some people's businesses have something that's really unique. You can't get it anywhere else. You can only get it from them. It's a one of a kind thing, you know. Um, um, some businesses are like a convenience thing, like you're super easy to deal with. Um, But I think in the world, and I think for your listeners, I think that small, medium business owner, especially with all those big tectonic shifts, the way that you now engage as a salesperson, a lot of it is like relationship driven. So businesses are about people. So I think if you have a set of data that drives your motivations, and it's qualified, so you're fishing in the right pond, your message is clear, it's to the right people, it's in the right place, your target list isn't 100 businesses or 100 products or 100 people, it's 10 that's qualified.
Yeah.
And there's no such thing as a cold call today or something unqualified because of those big shifts: social media, blog pages, the internet, like loads of information. There's no reason that anything has to be cold.
Yeah.
You can really figure out who those kind of 10 are. And then I think once you kind of have that layer, it's all about the relationship, finding out what actually matters to people, what value you can actually bring, what problem you can actually solve. I think if you do those two things, you can't go far wrong.
And for the business owners listening who know their sales need some work, now this is before you guys come to Australia, how do they find Sales Geek Manchester and work with you?
So anybody can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to give anybody the time of day and help wherever I
Thank
can.
you.
So my profile's on LinkedIn. It's just David Mercado. I think it might be .lisp, which basically just accreditation to say that I'm qualified to teach,
Oh,
pretty
cool.
much.
Okay.
So people more than feel free to reach out to me. There's loads of free resource and things that I can give people and signpost to. You connect with me on my Instagram as well. So David Mercado 61. Um, Sales Geek have a website, salesgeek.co.uk. The Manchester franchising page exists kind of like within that. But I guess if anybody really feels like they'd like a conversation, or they want to connect, or they feel like I might be able to help, I guess LinkedIn or Instagram is really easy to find me.
Thank you. I know we've got heaps of listeners that could use your help and advice and guidance. We'll pop all the links, sorry, in the show notes below. Dave, is there anything that we should have spoken about that we haven't?
No, I think we've covered everything. I don't know. I guess just maybe like the health and wellness thing. If anybody's interested in that kind of, health, wellness, longevity. If anybody's interested in a introduction to Muto, those guys that I'm working with to like look at like kind of health and longevity markers or some of their
Okay.
like supplementation. That those guys are really cool and interested to speak. But you see all that stuff on my Instagram as well. Um, if I could just help anybody in any small way, I'd like to.
Thank you so much. Well, like my mom said, you've always been so lovely. So I highly recommend to anyone listening or watching to definitely reach out to you. Thank you so much for today. An absolute blast from the past. And please keep in touch. I know there's a lot more to your story than you've shared. And I just want to say how I am of you for how far you've come, for having that resilience, that endurance, that grit. Life can sometimes be so hard, but I love that you've shown it a middle finger and just given it like your all. So I think it's something you should be really, really proud of.
Oh, thanks, Tracy. You too.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Well, yes, again, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Skin and bone, but I